When you're a neck, the world has special messages for you. When you're a neck, the leader gets the credit from you. When you're in neck, there are seminars to go to. When you're in neck, most of the teachings come through you. When you're in neck, the light and sound, it is all hue. And technical difficulties for a second here. Okay, so the afternoon of the, there's honoring your child's spiritual journey, and EC Youth Arts Gala Workshop and Rehearsal, your role in the destiny of Eckankar, and roundtables involving Unplug and Tune In, a deeper dive into contemplation. And that is what's going on in the Eckankar ceremony, in the seminar right now. So from the 21st of the second month of 1435, Monday, spiritual exercise and the Easy Way Discourses, lesson 10. Ask the reason, say BeCAUSE. So, as if you didn't know this was coming, the Easy Way Discourses by Harold Klemp, page 100, has the Ekist pray to whomever is called Mahanta at the time instead of God. One reason it doesn't say Harold Klemp used the third person statements about himself, about the leader of Eckankar, the former two leaders, is to be treated like a god himself. The detachment makes it all sound less arrogant too. It also makes the continuation of the group easier, because then the discourses don't have to be completely rewritten for the next guy to step in and step in the place of God. As I'm saying, these Temple of Blood lectures, is that's one of their principles, is if one acts like a god enough, then that's sort of a, then one chants man, pronounced like mane, 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 mane. In Samskrita, it means deceit or pride. Mani is jewel. Mana is wind. Is mind, consider or measure. Manu is rage or anger. Mani means tenable or standard. I focus mainly on the mind and jewel meanings. After dusk on Sunday, the 17th of November, 2013, or the 13th of the first month of 1435, I started practicing the prescribed spiritual exercises on page 100 of the Easy Way Discourses, asking about a health condition, a relationship, and a fear. I would ask God about each instead of the living Eckmaster. I would never pray to some creation, because, well, it's causal. A causal is better. Well, God's guidance and love is what I would like in a dream. I ask no spiritual leader to guide my dreams. I started hearing tinkling bells, running water, buzzing bees are a combination of all of those. The second month of 1435, combined with visualizations in orange, blue, or purple. I guess all the broad mental plane talk of the discourses has left its mark on the exercises, as those are the sounds and colors attributed to the causal plane, mental plane, and etheric plane. In Harold Klemp's writings, I also had the sense of going somewhere upon waking, but nothing clear has come from this. And I do more detailed videos than what you'll see on these charts, but the last practice of this rite was between 2 and 4:48 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on the 24th of December, 2013. This is also known as being in approximately the 9th and 10th hours of the night, out of 12, and the 21st of the second month of 1435 Al-Hijra. This is determined by dividing the night into 12 equal portions and the day into 12 equal portions. If I haven't said, it's the 13th of the 8th month of 1440. A few minutes before starting, I started to supplicate to God about the aforementioned matters. Then I started in God's name seeking refuge from the accursed devil. I felt like I wouldn't get back to sleep, nor was I sure I'd sleep till I looked at the clock saying 4:48. I chanted the word that probably means jewel amongst psychedelic greens, pinks, oranges, and faint blues. Different sounds arose among the flow. A clash of thunder came before the sounds of the surf and the beat of bells. I went past a series of buildings made of stone or bricks. On the hill, towering above the rest, was a Parthenon-style building of marble. One had to go up 7 steps to get to the main platform. The outside of the building had 5 pillars on each side. Until I went inside, I could hear the stream that ran through the city. Inside the building were 4 more pillars, with an additional pillar in the center. This made for 21 pillars in all. On each of the inner sides of the 3 middle pillars, on each side was a button. In a clockwise order, they were gold, copper, quicksilver, iron, tin, iron, and 6 of deep yellow. I recognized them to be the Goetia and Shem HaMathrash Sigilia, number 51 through 56. One that looked and dressed like an Ethiopian or Sudanese man directed me to touch these buttons, like the Sigilia for the period of Scorpio, going clockwise. I was transformed with each and inspired greatly to think about what I saw. I don't recall any of what I thought, though. One, like a southern Chinese man, grabbed me and led me towards the center, where he led a scorpion, a snake, and an eagle to act in certain ways through his motion. Through his motions and sounds. With a flash, I saw a bright yellow sphere on the horizon, casting a ray on each side, and 2 through the sky that was already a glowing blue. My heart raced. I felt like I was passing through a layer of fabric that covered me. Then I was awake. I am better rested than in weeks. It was as if I was experiencing cleansing and imbibing. It was as if I was to show a flexible energetic path, a flexible and inflexible energetic path through defense, variety and detachment. Sudan and Ethiopia are areas where exorcism and angelic magic are more common. Southern China is an area where practical magic is more common. Could these figures be a projection of me with a proper theory and practice of such? An echist may ask the following about such an experience. Was the building I saw the Namayatan temple of the mental plane in the city of Mer Kailash? Was Wu Tena, animal master? Was Tawart Manage, the shower of the buttons? Are the buttons the chariot? Chariot ki sukma, the Ekankar scripture. Are the structures along the way the city of Mer Kailash? Does the glowing blue sky and the sounds of the stream mean I was in the mental plane? Were the colors passing through the physical, astral, and causal planes along the way to the mental plane? Were the sounds the same phenomenon? Was the ending of the dream with its yellow orb shining 4 directions a representation of the 4th of Yule? Were the 21 pillars symbolic of the lunar period? Was the sloughing off of feeling a birth of sorts? Were the scorpion, snake, and eagle as the guntas of Scorpio as Mars, Jupiter, or Sun, and Moon or Venus? Were the buttons and my transformations something to aspire to, or merely experience? Why was the observing the animals more feeling oriented and the pressing the buttons more moving mentally? Why was the Sudanese or Ethiopian man more for hinting and the Southern Chinese guy more about the show? Let me make sure the comments are here because this is a satsang of sorts. Lesson 10, ask the reason, say because. The Ekankar concept of the second heaven is the causal plane. Thought is projected upon an idea of the third heaven, which is the mental and etheric planes. Purely spiritual matters are thought to be upon the soul plane, Atmalak, Alaklak, invisible sphere, Alayalak, feeling sphere, Hokikatlak, reality sphere, Agamlak, unapproachable sphere, Anamilak, having no name sphere, and Sugmad world, and Sugmad, God is a noun, according to Paul Twitchell's The Spiritual Notebook. And above that we have, as I've said before, there's Ekkim and there's Ekshar realization. And the Ekankar concept of Starting in childhood, we all ask, why? Parents often provide these pre-adolescents with an answer with because in it. Perhaps this want to be seen as a parental figure is why many sociopaths often have an excessive use of this word. By cause, that, are, by cause. You know, different bys, by and bi, is where we get the word because from. The causal, mental, and etheric planes are referred to in the same group as the upper 6 to 8 realms, and the lower 2 can be thought of together. The causal plane is of cause and effect, and memories, in the same way, thoughts and intuition can be thought of as what the next 2 planes are the storehouses for. One is said to have a more subtle, starry causal body. Could all this lower realm stuff just be talking about projections upon physical and psychiatric realities? Is there really spiritual leaders showing us why we are who we are on the inner planes? Why would we have to refer to outside this universe or its creator to explain why things are the way they are in this life? Eckankar would like you to reject predestination as a fatalistic doctrine. But is it? People who submit to God's will do not blame themselves for every circumstance in life. Those who truly believe in fate know that much is a result of their thoughts and desires too. Those who believe in predestination know that all of life is a series of tests. They have the opportunity to ultimately succeed in it. Some would need the help of a psychiatrist or such a specialist, but most would not need a specialist to fix their emotional and broad mind problems. What then is inner guidance by a living Ek master for Eckankar members? Is that something we need? Al-Quran 27:62 says, Ammeyujibun darain wayakshus su. That part of the verse is a part of a tradition of saying it 12,000 times as a relief for difficulty. This part of the verse, which has a meaning like, isn't he who answers the distressed one when he calls him, has a tradition of being used in the beginning and end of obligatory salat of al-Muslimin. So 27:62. Eckankar also teaches to achieve balance and cures for ill and hardship through spiritual exercises rather than just covering symptoms or even partial healing. Al-Quran 27:8 lets one know that even though God is innermost and outermost, that God is glorified beyond incarnation of even a miraculous sort. Is Eckankar right in refusing to accept that a God could be sufficient without other gods and Eckmasters who are treated like gods? Page 95 and 96 is yet another plug of a book by a member of Eckankar. This time it is Through Time into Healing by Dr. Brian L. Weiss. Inner Guidance would probably be the book that would be talked about like that in recent years. Oh, great, I broke my handle. Through Time into Healing by Dr. Brian L. Weiss. The claim is that it is full of echist spiritualists' techniques of regression. Do works like that really add to the body of causal and astral sorts of information? The reality seems to be in bringing up the concept of the mind as a bridge to spiritual realities. Should we really divide our direct knowledge of the broadness of the mind into a higher mind, a middle mind, and a lower mind? Well, mesocortical, the control system, and mesolimbic being the lower mind. There's some sense to that, and those middle brain system. Wait, I'm not articulating that quite right, but anyways. Many would say regression therapy actively creates psychological projections about situations and is not a reliable source of memories and a secondary source of connections to feelings. Do you think case studies in such books establish the existence of etheric, mental, causal, or astral or other realms? The function in life of such therapies does seem to help remove blockages of mental and emotional sorts. It discovers issues to work through. This can be very effective, despite any questioning of the reality of the recollections. Harold Klemp talks on page 99 and 100 of the Easy Way Discourses about how those who go to therapy out of curiosity rather than to try to achieve such through spiritual practices of development are lazy. Well, a lot of laziness actually makes life more difficult and more effort-driven, but I gather from people and otherwise that it tends to be more difficult and riddled with unnecessary drugs and can be a lesser benefit for a whole series of problems over years than methods like music therapy and diet adjustment usually have in a few months. Do psychotherapists and hypnotists really take us to realms beyond the capacity, beyond our capacity or their knowledge? I would agree that it is better to be able to work through problems without others. The hard work for self-dependence tends to make life easier and give us abilities we wouldn't otherwise have. Eckankar teaches to pray to their main living leader and do other exercises for help. Have the writings of Harold Klemp, Darwin Gross, or Paul Twitchell. Have the writings of Harold Klemp, Darwin Gross, or Paul Twitchell been so good that they have convinced you to pray to these people? Al-Quran 2793 speaks of God's messenger of this age and those who recite Al-Quran as being merely to warn. And let the witnesses be guided with it, are to stray from it at their will, instead of a Mahanta being there discovering things for you and telling you when information is censored. Al-Quran 2793, or maybe 92, tells us God will show us proof till we recognize them. Al-Quran 2779 tells us that truth is being followed when we trust in God. Which of these varieties of belief make more sense to you? Harold Klemp teaches success and secular therapy is an illusion. Why can't some of these benefits of spiritual life be real when found in secular life? Al-Quran 42:45 seems to be true in teaching that the real loss is being a loser soul, and that a sign of these is those that will avoid looking. But Al-Quran never denies the reality of mental and physical achievements devoid of religious intentions or reflection. Ekankar teaches rightly that all bodies should be healed, physical or otherwise. Al-Quran 42:47 calls us to respond to the call for the soul before it is too late. The verse before that reminds those who go astray spiritually that there are no helpers against God's wishes. And Sugma being God as a noun, Ek being God as a verb, just say Allah or Yahweh or some other, but they divide it into two. But Ekankar teaches that there's some censor on our mind to protect our ego, but can we really be the cause of all our problems in life? We certainly have no excuses for our choices that weren't even coerced. Are people always going to learn from the experience of mistakes? Harold Klemp seemed to be saying a spiritual seeker will make more mistakes and go through more hardships in the short run. But does that have to be so? Respond to the call for the soul before it's too late. Yep, that's what we got to do. 42:47. Those who go astray. So let me simplify light and sound and say that Ekankar is supposed to be the religion of vibrations. Sort of comparative religion for a lot of people. It's much smaller than it used to be in the 80s, but remember to go Ek yourself.